how are you? How's life? What's going on?
Well, keeping busy, just sort of getting some content together and so on. Just taking each day as it comes, really, until we can get back to normality.
Yeah. What does normality look like for you at the moment? Are you working on anything at the moment? Are you waiting for things to start again? What are you keeping busy with?
I've started a little project actually, just while I'm kind of confined to barracks, and I'm I've created a YouTube channel
Amazing.
reading bedtime stories.
Oh, I love that. I love that. That's so
So
so lovely. Why did you want to start that? Is it was it for family originally? Was it just something that you thought, yeah, do you know what? I want a bit of that.
well, my friend is a teacher, and she was telling me about, how obviously now it's all home learning and homeschooling and so on, and that for the younger kids, they were also reading stories.
Yeah.
And I thought, what a great thing. I thought, well, I'll have a go. That'll take it to the to the next step. So I'm reading the story and I'm filming it, and I've created this kind of nice fireside kind of vibe, and I just thought, well, it was something that I enjoy doing, make the most of my kind of spare creative time, and
Amazing.
yeah,
I love
because
that.
it's difficult to fly the drone at the moment because you can't really go anywhere. The
Yeah.
weather's awful, so even if you could go somewhere, it's so wet and whatever. It's so yeah. I thought, well, while I'm stuck indoors, I might as well do something else.
Amazing. So, obviously, drones is what we're here to talk about today. Very exciting stuff. So, just before we get onto our project that we did together, um, I wanted to talk to you about how you got into the drone industry. Like, why did you choose drone cameras and drone footage and stuff like that instead of opposed to like normal cameras?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've been into photography for quite a long time. So I guess it's been a natural progression from having, a GoPro on my mountain bike to mostly doing still photography. And it was probably going back about nearly 5 years ago now. And drones were just starting to take off, pardon the pun. And I'd been doing some work with a digital company, and the company I was working with, and still am, a motorcycle firm. They wanted to include our motorcycles in a promotional video that they were doing for a client, and the guy had a drone, and I said, wow, that's great. He said, have a go if you want. So I got the controls in my hands, and it was really intuitive, and being a bit of a gadget freak anyway, had a play with it, and I thought, wow, that's fantastic. And then I kind of thought more about it, more than just it being a toy, and thought about how can I, do my photography, have a play with a toy, and also look at maybe a business opportunity.
Yeah.
And it just went from there.
Amazing. So, would you kind of have any advice or tips or anything like that for anybody who wants to get into the drone industry? I don't know if it's the
Yeah.
same thing.
Well, the rules have changed as of the 1st of January this year. The rules have changed. So, because there are more and more drones, the airspace is getting crowded. There are people, you can go into Argos, or you can go into, Jessop's or wherever, and buy a drone
Yeah.
that could literally take an aircraft out of the sky. So they are dangerous if they're used, sort of incorrectly.
Yeah.
So whilst there are more safeguards in place, you need to really, understand what is it you want to do with this, where do you want to go with it, and then look at the legality of it, because it may be that what you want to do with it isn't allowed. If you want to film your kids in the park, there are all sorts of privacy laws. There are laws about, just being close to people and buildings in terms of safety. So I would say do the research first, because they are an expensive toy. They're great fun. You can get some beautiful results with them, but you've got to make sure that you are not kind of flying foul of the law.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of information on the internet. Have a look at that, and then make sure that you can fly safely and legally.
Yeah, because I didn't realize that, because I bet a lot, like my brother got one for maybe his 11th, 12th birthday, like a little plastic one, not the kind of proper stuff that you guys have, but like there's people in my family that have got like little, like you say, toy ones, and I didn't know that it's quite a serious thing, isn't it? Because we had issues on our latest shoot, didn't we, about permits and flying over nature reserves and stuff like that, and having the actual permission to film anything that you might accidentally catch on that video while you're flying your drone, because there's a whole legal thing about it, isn't there?
Yeah. So there are, I guess your brother's little drone might be one that doesn't have a camera. So privacy laws don't matter, because you can't, impose on people's privacy. But even with a little drone, I mean, those rotors are spinning at thousands of revs.
Yeah.
And if that hits you, it's going to hurt. Imagine something that's bigger and more powerful. And also, something that's as heavy as a commercial sized drone. If that falls out the sky, it could kill somebody. So you've got to be really careful when you're filming. You've got to make sure that the people that you're with, they're in your control, so that in case something goes wrong, you can tell them to get out the way, or whatever. So you have to do various courses, examinations, and so on to get permission to fly your drone, and that opens up other doors, but you still have to get permission. So for example, where we were close to an airfield, even though that airfield wasn't operating on that day, we're still in controlled airspace, so you have to apply to get permission to operate within their enclosed sort of boundaries.
Yeah. So that actually brings me very, very nicely onto my next question. Because obviously when we were filming Moonfish, it's very exciting, we were in quite a remote location. We were on the beach in a small town in Cumbria. What were your issues there? Obviously, it would have been, it's not a highly populated area, so you don't think of like big skyscrapers and stuff. But like you say, like we're in controlled airspace. What type of challenges did you come across there?
Yeah, I mean, the wherever you are, the weather is always an issue. So, we had wind and rain on the first morning, but thankfully, by the time that that it was time for me to do my bit, the weather cleared and we can go up. So, there are limitations, when you can fly, in terms of just the powers of nature.
Yeah.
Most of the places we went to, because they're remote, they're great, because there's not lots of people. You've not got privacy issues, you've not got the risk of hitting somebody or whatever. So but some of the places where I think we've got plans to film again, where there's a lighthouse, for example, it's a nature reserve, so there are birds, and of course we don't have control over them. So we need to get permission, and we need to know it's safe to operate there. And it may just be that some places it's never going to happen, because it's a sensitive breeding ground or whatever. We were near an airport, so again it's can we operate safely if we fly beneath a certain altitude with their permission? So we've got to get permission and get it signed off by the air traffic control authorities.
A lot of paperwork to do, because there's more. I didn't know any of this, but there's so much that goes into, you don't just think, oh, do you know, we'll get a really nice shot of that thing over there, go on, off you go. But you just can't do that, can you? Because you do have to have all these permits,
Yeah.
permissions, to make sure.
And even in remote areas, it could be that you might be in, for example, in Snowdonia, beautiful place, stunning scenery, but the RAF go flying through there at 1,000 miles an hour in a Tornado jet fighter. So you might think, well, there's nobody around, but you're right in the middle. And of course, those guys are flying at really low altitudes. Yeah. So you need to do a lot of preparation and do risk assessments to make sure that, there are no hazards. It could be that, it looks like a remote place, but you've got electrical pylons. So, you know, even just looking on Google Earth to see, you know, how the land lies and so on, see if there are any physical risks, and then mark them down, and then you know, do that again when you get there to make sure that what you've assessed is correct, and make sure there are no other problems that you couldn't see from, you know, the map on the internet.
Yeah. So when you did your shot list for the movie shoot, is this the type of thing that you had to go through? Did you look at, right, okay, so we want this shot, this shot, we need to know what's there. Do you go on Google Earth and, you know, do that risk? Because I wasn't obviously there on the first couple of days. Is that the type of thing you have to do to go and do that risk assessment?
Yeah, it's really kind of seeing. I mean, obviously, ultimately, as you know, the director chooses where to film, and then my job then is to see, you know, can I safely and legally undertake what the director wants me to do? Because ultimately, even though it might make a great shot, you know, you see some stuff on the internet and you think, wow, they are really, really pushing the limits there in terms of safety and legality and so on. So it's really making sure that, you know, as a safe operator, that I'm not doing anything that's going to come into conflict, to cause any, you know, concerns to people in the local area, to wildlife and so on. So those are the main things, and then make sure that the shots that we want to get, I can do safely without kind of putting the actors and the crew in any danger. So those are sort of the standard things that you do as a trained drone pilot.
Wow. So what were those shots? What were you aiming to get that weekend? Obviously, I know because I was there, I watched you. But for the sake of the podcast, what can you chat us through? What type of things you did film with your drone?
Yeah, I mean the location was stunning, and I've been to that area so many times, but didn't realize that we had these serene, remote sort of looking places that were so close to places that had been, that were very, you know, mundane, if you like, you know. So only a couple of miles away, you've got this fantastic coastline that I don't want to tell too many people because we don't want them all to go and spoil it, but it's such a beautiful spot. And I think we were lucky with the light. We got some fantastic, you know, skies and lighting and so on the day. And my job was to take what the crew had been filming from sort of from ground level, but to elevate that and give a sense of perspective, a placement, if you like, that you can't capture from the normal kind of human perspective. And I think there's something that it really kind of, you know, again, pardon the pun, but elevates, I think, a piece of footage when you can take people beyond what they're normally used to seeing. So, you know, a bird's eye view, an aerial shot, it really does kind of give a real placement to that location.
Kind of makes you feel like you are really there instead of just watching people that are there in that location. When you do get that kind of, like you say, like bird's eye view, like 360 view of where we are and where we're filming, it kind of makes it a little bit more real, doesn't it? Like you can feel like you're there.
Well, yeah, and also I think when I'm, you know, my experiences from flying the drone is that, you know, it gives you almost a sense that you are flying, you know, because you can see some amazing views that you wouldn't ordinarily be able to see, even from an aircraft, because an aircraft will see things from a much higher perspective, but you can see things, you know, really is a bird's eye view. That's the best way to describe it.
Yeah. So you were not only our drone operator for the Moonfish shoot, but also our behind the scenes photographer. And some of those shots are amazing. We've got some of them on the social media already. We've got more to go out. Um, how do you find the best shot? Like, there's some of the pictures that you've got are just so incredible, but they don't look like, if I was to look at someone like, oh yeah, they look nice, I would not think to take that picture or do that light or anything like that. So what do you look for in normal settings that make those pictures look so good?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we were very lucky with the light, and I think it's capturing, you know, the shots. For example, I mean, what you can see behind me there, we're just coming into the golden hour. That's a shot from the drone from near where I live and the recent sort of snowy weather. And, you know, being able to get the light that's really kind, you know, you get sort of nice, long, sort of solid shadows. It's a warmth of light because it's filtered through much more of the atmosphere. So it just makes everything look so much better, you know, and especially when you backlight. So a lot of the shots that we got were of the actors and the crew that were setting up, and they were backlit by this wonderful light that was diffused by this incredible cloud. So it's timing, you know, it's sort of, you've got to be up early, you've got to make sure that you're ready with all your equipment and ready to shoot. And it's really just, I guess, understanding your equipment, knowing what it can do, so that you can sort of push the boundaries. And when I'm taking a photograph, I always expose for the sky. So what I mean by that is that, you know, if you've got a very bright sky, if you only expose for the land, that sky will be washed out and you can't recover. It's called clipping the highlights. So if you expose for the sky, so that's correctly exposed, you can bring the shadows out, the detail out of the land, and you've still got a lot of detail in the sky. So that's sort of the way that I kind of take my photographs. And that way you've not got, otherwise you just end up with, yeah, you might have lots of detail in the ground, but the sky is just flat and boring. So, you know, there, I think that sky in the background is a great example where, you know, the sun's coming up, that could have been completely eclipsed, you know, the sky would have been completely washed out, but I've managed to retain some of the detail and you know, got a nice shot as a result.
It looks, some of the cloud pictures I use a lot for like Instagram stories, like if we're doing like a quick question or something like that, I just need a picture to go on the story. I use all of the cloud ones because they're just so nice, and the lighting of them, it is just incredible. It looks almost not real. It looks like somebody's kind of edited it or painted it, or, but I didn't realize that you could, like you say, expose for the light, for the sky instead of the land.
Yeah.
I didn't realise that was a thing that you could do.
One of the other things, I mean, I was shooting with quite a long lens, so it was a 200mm zoom lens, because obviously the last thing I want to do is be there getting in the way of the crew who are trying to shoot, or even casting a shadow, or even on the beach, is if I'm moving around. If I have to be really close to get the picture, you can hear me crunching on the shingle on the beach and so on. So I have a long lens. It means that I can get close into the action and capture some of those shots. And also I tend to, I think a lot of those shots I've done with a fairly large aperture, so that we've got a kind of shallow depth of field. So we get nice sharp images of the subject and, you know, a softer looking background. So, you know, I've got some decent equipment now, that helps. And it's just shooting away, and it's just making sure that you're ready, you see an opportunity. And I normally try and take about 3 or 4 shots at the same time. So, because especially if you're shooting people, you know, there's always, if there's more than one person, there's always one that's, you know, they've got their eyes closed, their tongue sticking out. Yeah. So if you take a few, then it's more than likely that you've got, you know, everybody looking, you know, eyes open or whatever. So yeah, it's just, and also having quite a fast shutter speed if you can, because there's so much going on. You want to be able to stop the action and capture that that you know, that moment in time.
Yeah. Are you the type of photographer that will see someone who's kind of, you know, it looks kind of nice, but someone's not looking, or some? Are you the type of person like, can everyone just look at me, or do you prefer it to be a little bit more organic, and, you know, if somebody else got the back to the camera or somebody?
Absolutely. You know, I would much rather do candid photographs. You know, going to well, you know, before all this happened, you know, I'd go, you know, pop into Manchester, take my camera, and I'd just hide in a doorway and just shoot away at people and try and capture, you know, I'm sure they'll be great looking back at those pictures, people living their lives, being normal in the street. But but yeah, you can capture some great expressions, you know, some real characters when they're not aware that you're taking the pictures. So, you know, I've done a couple of wedding shoots and so on, and I'd much rather, again, be in the background and capturing the real moment rather than the stage kind of posed photographs. You know, I'd much rather be, you know, capturing people just behaving normally, because those are the ones that are going to, you know, kind of bring a tear to the eye later on, rather than the, oh, that's very nice. But, you know, for me, it's about capturing the emotion rather than capturing the perfect pose shot.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's so many of those that are just so lovely. There's some that I used already on the social media, and it's of the crew, and they're just getting on, just working, and but like you say, they're all backlit, and it looks incredible. It's just all of these silhouettes, and you know, you can see our director and our director of photography kind of like pointing things out. There's a couple of guys just chatting, and it's so nice because it, like you say, it's real. Like that's what was happening. It's not, oh, can everyone pose for this picture please, because I want to put it on my Facebook.
Well, I think, you know, again, I guess the wedding analogy is there. It's like, you know, you get to a point where, you know, I do some filming as well. I've done, you know, sort of film weddings, and it's let people get to know you and get used to you being there, so that they forget you that you're there, and that's when you get the best stuff. So, you know, they're focused on the job, they're oblivious to me, and I tried to capture everybody, you know, from maybe Dom that was making the cups of tea in the back of his car, and so on, you know, all that sort of stuff, not just the, you know, the actors or the director or whatever. It's try and get everybody, because everybody, you know, the thing can't operate if it's not a complete team. So it's, you know, it's making sure everybody's there and capture what everybody's doing, and so on.
Yeah, it's nice to have that though, because a lot of, obviously we are quite a small company at the moment. A lot of our crew cast have worked across many projects. So it's nice to have that kind of, well, I don't know if family is a cringy word to say, but we are very much a team unit, aren't we? Everybody chips in, everybody's just their own, you know, does their bit to make it happen. It's nice that everybody's represented that way.
I agree. You know, it was great that, you know, I was fortunate enough to be, you know, sort of introduced to, you know, to Baby Dog, and you feel that right away that you know, once you've kind of, I guess, earned your stripes, you become part of the family, part of the team, and that's how it feels. There's a lovely atmosphere. Everybody's really friendly. There doesn't seem to be any, you know, kind of competition or, you know, kind of awkwardness or whatever.
Out of it, type of thing.
Yeah, everybody's working together to make this a success.
Yeah, I suppose the best, like you just said, one of my favourite things that happened that weekend is that one of our actors, Dom, who actually lives in the town we were shooting in Cumbria, he, you know, you've got some amazing shots of him doing his thing on set on the first day, and then on the second day, bless him, because he literally lives on the corner, you're just like, can I help out, can I come and do anything? And you know, he was the one up at 7 o'clock in the morning making everyone a cup of coffee, making sure everyone was good to go for day two. So yeah, it's just it's nice to have that represented. It's not just, you know, the director and the leading roles that are the only people that are represented. It's lovely that in those photos it's everyone. So thank you very much for that.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
So that is what I just wanted to chat to you about. I have some gorgeous advice on drones and finding the best shots. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll be back soon.
Let's hope so. And yeah, I can't wait to, you know, get up in the air and working on the next project.
Yeah, it's going to be fab. Thank you so much for joining me today, John. Have a lovely week. Speak to you soon.
See you soon.